The View Trump acting as if he's a pirate. Americans are complicit. ABC News program The View was channeling Venezuela's communist Maduro regime during Thursday's show when a majority of the cast engaged in their usual anti-Trump screeching, this time triggered by the U.S. legally seizing a sanctioned oil tanker. Despite the ship's sanction being issued by the Biden administration and the fact that the Coast Guard had a warrant, they were eager to accuse President Trump of piracy and claimed all Americans were complicit. Moderator Whoopi Goldberg seeming ignorant of the sanctions on the ship, and nor was she concerned about its shady history. Instead, she was busy suggesting the seizure was just a distraction. I mean, okay, he seized a tanker. What is it really? What is it really? Is this more let's not talk about Epstein, she declared. She also cooked up a crazy scenario where China was supposedly going to retaliate against the U.S. Of course, she skimped on the details of what she meant. The Chinese get their oil from Venezuela. So what happens if they get on the side of the Venezuelans and say, this is not right? What happens if there's retaliation? All these guys in power now seem to be living on bases all over the country somehow. Somehow they're living on army bases and stuff. Who's going to pay if there's retaliation? Sorry, Whoopi, but China wasn't going to do jack all for Nicolas Maduro. They had closer ties with Iran and didn't do anything after the U.S. bombed their nuclear enrichment facilities. At one point in the segment, Goldberg started to spew her anti-America hatred. According to her, we have a lot of nerve doing this because America was awful and supposedly a puppet state to Russia. We are watching the country get run into the ground, and we are in bed with the Russians, with all the people that I thought we were not supposed to be sanctioning and partying, not partying with, but working with. And so, I'm not sure what we're trying to do anymore because we don't seem to have a clear thing. Her clownish sidekick Joy Behar agreed that the seizure was just an attempt to distract. She suggested that Trump was going to start a war to distract from the Epstein files, and reached way back into her Bush-bashing toolkit to claim he was doing it for the oil. Do you remember the movie Wag the Dog? The movie was a U.S. president, I think Dustin Hoffman, starts a war in Albania to distract from a sex scandal weeks before an election. That's the movie. Sound familiar? And the USS Epstein is at the dock right now. Plus the fact that now we know it was about oil. We were wondering, why does he keep going to Venezuela? Now we know. Despite also suggesting that Trump was interested in invading Venezuela for the oil, co-host Sara Haines did note, this move specifically on this tanker might be a good thing because the ship was servicing America's adversaries like China, Iran, and Russia. This is something the European Union has sanctions with them, Canada has sanctions with them, the US has sanctions. They came in with a warrant on this ship, she argued. This was a legal seizure of an oil tanker. And a lot of what they're saying is that this is also going to de-incentivize black market ships from stopping in Venezuela and taking this oil to enemy nations. Behar's weak mind couldn't wrap itself around what Haines was talking about and baselessly blurted out that the tanker was blown up. When confronted on the lie, she scoffed. We know you work for ABC News, Joy, but facts matter. They're not, whatever. In the same week that she stepped up to defend accused assassin Luigi Mangione and the chaos of Somalia, where actual pirates operated freely, former federal prosecutor Sunny Hostin insisted that the federal seizure warrant didn't mean anything, and it was still illegal. She then accused Trump of being a pirate and said America was complicit. It's unclear whether or not this was legal. A federal judge did issue this seizure warrant that you're referring to roughly about 2 weeks ago, because of this particular ship's past activities smuggling Iranian oil. And that's typically used to finance terrorist activity. So, I understand that piece. But the piece that I don't understand is that the President of the United States is almost acting as if he's a pirate and the United States is, we're just a group of pirates. Because some legal experts will tell you that the U.S. has no jurisdiction to enforce unilateral sanctions on non-U.S. persons outside of its territory. And I'm sort of in that space. Leave it up to Hostin to parrot Maduro's regime on national television. Who are we to board a ship even with U.S. federal judge's seizure warrant and then keep the oil? That to me feels a lot like corruption. It feels a lot like, to me, imperialism. It feels a lot like me to fascism, she sneered. And so, while it may be cloaked in an appearance,